Hello everyone! Just to let you know, this video was created by Zora Maznam Senan, a senior lecturer of UiTM Johor. Today, we are diving deep into Malaysia's legal blueprint, specifically focusing on its written law. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the basics, what written law actually is. Then we'll look at the supreme law of the land, figure out who writes all the rules, and see the difference between federal and state laws. Finally, we'll connect all the dots and see why this blueprint is so incredibly important. Okay, first things first, let's really get a handle on what we mean by written law. It sounds straightforward, but this concept is literally the foundation for the entire legal system. In a nutshell, written law is the official rulebook. These are the formal laws, also known as legislation, that have been properly debated and passed by the people in charge, the legislatures. Once they make it official and publish it, bam, it's on the books. All right, now for the most critical piece of this whole puzzle. We're talking about the highest law in the country, the one that sits right at the very top of the legal pyramid. And in Malaysia, that ultimate authority is the federal constitution. You can think of it as the final boss. Every single other law has to follow its rules, no exceptions, period. And this document has some serious history. It was drafted by something called the Reed Commission way back in 1956, and it officially came into force on Independence Day, August 31st, 1957. It basically laid out the entire game plan for the newly formed nation. So where does its power come from? Look no further than Article 4.1. This right here is the heart of its authority. It's not a suggestion, it's a command. It states flat out that any law that clashes with the Constitution is simply void. This is the clause that gives the Constitution all its muscle. And there's a fantastic legal term for this principle, ultra vires. It's Latin for beyond the powers. So if a law tries to do something it's not allowed to do under the Constitution, the courts can step in and say, nope, you've gone beyond your powers. That law becomes invalid. It's the ultimate check on power. Okay, so if the Constitution is the ultimate guide, that brings up a pretty obvious question, right? Who's actually writing all the other day-to-day laws? Well, that huge responsibility of making new laws is given to very specific groups, and they work at two different levels. You see, Malaysia has a two-tier lawmaking system. At the national or federal level, you have parliament, and then for every single state, you have a state legislative assembly. Now, because we have this two-tier system, we end up with two different kinds of laws, each with its own playground, its own jurisdiction. Let's break down what that really means. The crucial difference here is all about their reach. When Parliament makes a law, it's called an act, and it applies to the entire country. But when a state assembly makes a law, it's called an enactment, and its power stops at the state border. Think of it as nationwide rules versus local rules. And this division of power makes a whole lot of sense. The federal laws, the acts, they handle the big picture stuff that needs to be consistent for everyone. We're talking about things like national defense, foreign policy, internal security, and criminal law. You need one single rulebook for those. So we've looked at all the different parts. Let's step back and look at the complete picture. Why does having this very specific structured blueprint matter so much? It all comes down to this clear hierarchy. At the very top, you've got the federal constitution, the ultimate safeguard. Underneath that are the acts of parliament, the federal laws, and at the base are the enactments from the states. This structure gives us a clear, stable, and predictable legal system where everyone knows the rules of the game. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that the Constitution isn't just some document for lawyers. It's your personal shield. It draws a line on what the government can and can't do, it guarantees your basic rights, and it keeps any one branch of government from getting too powerful. By setting these ultimate rules, the Constitution works to make sure there's fairness, order, and justice for every single citizen. It's the blueprint holding everything together. So next time you read in the news about a law being challenged in court, you'll know it's more than just a legal squabble. It's this very blueprint being tested in the real world.